Elizabeth Bathory, the serial-killing noblewoman of the 16th and 17th century, joins Extella Link as an anti-heroic Lancer-class servant, somewhat redeemed from her original life of depravity through her intentions to help out your cause, in her own way. Despite having such a small frame, this narcissistic self-proclaimed idol does have a talent for dealing out pain, and today we're going to take a look at everything she can do, and attempt to get an idea for how well she stands out in this cast. Elizabeth has a normal string of 5 attacks. She will slash her giant lance to the left, spin while attacking back right, thrust and fly slightly forward, twirl her lance on her own from left to right, and then finish by throwing out a series of thrusts before finishing with one big one. Compared to others, especially other Lancers, Elizabeth's strikes are surprisingly calm and focused, yet at the same time have a lot of range due to the enormous size of her weapon. In exchange for this focus, her attacks here are a bit slower than normal, without any side or back coverage that would make this safer to use in crowds. Let's jump over to her unique attacks and to see what's next. For her heavy attack, Elizabeth will ready her lance, and then jump forward while doing a strong thrust to the front. This is a pretty standard spacer, and even though it sends your enemies far away, Elizabeth does have the skills to catch up to them if you want to keep on attacking. Next up, for her C2 launcher, Elizabeth will swing her lance up and jump into the air with her enemies. While in midair, you are able to use her aerial attacks, of which she has 2, a hit and then a diagonal flight back down. Even though she flies diagonally down, in my testing I've noticed that she doesn't actually end up flying that far away, essentially moving only the equivalent of 1 body length when initiating this finisher from the top of her double jump. For her next unique attack, she will do the pretty standard dash and hit that always seems to take this spot. Like her C1, this is a damager and spacer that does about the same amount of damage. It comes out fast, it's easy to use, and overall, it's a fine addition. Next up, she will thrust her lance forward, and then do a spin and attack again like this, spinning the spear around her at the end. The multiple hits of this attack make this a very great damage source, and I love the way that it has a small hit before incorporating the pause for a bigger attack. This allows you to be able to reliably pull off all hits of it, giving your enemy very little time to knock you out of the animation if you damage them with the first hit. For her final unique attack, Elizabeth starts walking as her lance spins all around her. While she is channeling this, you are able to move her as you like, something which would make it perfect for following up on a juggled foe, but unfortunately Elizabeth doesn't have a simple juggler anywhere in her kit. Instead, this is better used against an enemy that you've launched into a wall with one of her spacers, where you can then do a tremendous amount of damage with this once you have them at your mercy against that barrier. Overall, I think this collection of unique attacks is pretty good. She has a lot of offensive capabilities, from sudden burst damage, double strikes, and channeled melee range damage, but overall Elizabeth is still lacking in area damage for cleaving through multiple foes or gathering KOs. It's up to her active skills to make up for that, so next we're going to see if they do. Let's run down all of Elizabeth's active skills along with their descriptions, before getting to recommendations for your build and whatnot. 1. Ver Salgovar. Repeated sweeping motions toward the front with your tail. 2. Estet Rupiles, maybe. Ride your spear through the enemy. 3. Liz Particles. Shoot a spread of 3 heart-shaped bombs. 4. Sealed Vocal Room of Isolation. Summon giant speakers on either side of you, letting you shout out a forward shockwave. 5. Bloody Iron Maiden. Summon an instrument of torture, which sucks in nearby enemies and siphons their HP to you. 6. Metasonic Concert. Attack the enemies around you with a strong, monstrous shockwave. And 7. Laert Sugartron, maybe. Throw the spear, which then explodes upon impact. Elizabeth Bathory is one of the rare servants in this game who only have attack skills, missing out on some utility by making sure that whatever build you go with, you're not going to have to worry about cooldown so much, because you're generally going to have at least one of these powerful skills available at all times. In order to get the most out of this, I'd highly recommend trying to pick the skills which make up for her normal kit's weaknesses, which of course would be area damage. Liz Particles is a very fast ranged attack skill with a cone-shaped hitbox that allows you to destroy enemies or punish more valuable targets like aggressors and servants who you've got in your threat range. Sealed Vocal Room of Isolation also serves the same purpose of forward-facing damage. Both of them are definitely good, and you can bring along both of them if you want, but personally I would just take one of these. Next up we have the more circular-based damage of Bloody Iron Maiden and Metasonic Concert. Between these two, the former takes the cake for me by far, due to its ability to scoop up not only regular enemies, but also very powerful enemies such as servants. Taking these annoying foes off the battlefield for a few seconds, dealing damage to them, and also stealing HP from them is simply too too invaluable of a combo to pass up. Elizabeth has one of the worst defense stats in the game, capping out at 1350, and although she doesn't have a block counter skill as she probably should, the extra healing that you get from her Bloody Maiden just has more and more value. Estet Repule and Lert Sugertran, which are definitely two skills that I cannot pronounce correctly, both have similar effects of doing very thin, long-range damage to her front. But again, it's easy to say that you're going to want the first one again. This is Elizabeth's only Lancer skill, and thus is her best way to get rush attacks without adding extra install skills to give bonuses to her other ones. To finish her out, Ver Salgavar is a great choice. I know that it just does close range damage like the rest of her normal kit, but having a fast way to deal tons of damage directly in front of you is always welcome. This is key for chomping away at the giant health bars of large aggressors or servants, especially when you're at the end of a stage and just need to take them out already. Like much of the cast, there isn't anything extra to say about Elizabeth's drive skill and noble phantasm, so let's go ahead and tie everything up and see where she'll land in the charts. One of the most charming aspects of examining each one of these characters as closely as I've been doing is that in doing so, it really reveals how closely the team at Type Moon attempted to tie in each servant's personality to their playstyle. With an average attack stat and poor defense stat, Elizabeth Bathory really should have a faster or longer range playstyle, with loads of stun, defense, or status-based skills. But she doesn't. As is often said about this character, harming and causing pain to others is no different to her than breathing. As an utterly narcissistic noblewoman with no interest outside her own imagined ascension as an idol, everything she does generally just hurts others due to collateral damage. She flies from place to place on her lance, not even thinking about those she runs over as people. She turns her speakers on painfully loud so that she can be heard, and then blasts all those around her with the powerful sonic vibrations, thinking that this will make them give her the adoration she deserves. Her playstyle for combat doesn't seem all that well thought out, simply because, according to her character, she's really not that interested in the fight or being the ultimate warrior. This is great expression of her personality through design, but what's most surprising about this is that somehow she still manages to really work. Using her skills to clear out foes while using her tricky lance normal and unique attacks to punish important targets, it all somehow coalesces as long as you keep the upper hand. When you don't, well, that's where she can start to fall apart. Whether you're attempting a hard mode mission early or simply run into a situation where non-stop aggression won't keep you protected, such as in certain boss rush missions, Elizabeth's glaring lack of defenses and support skills really start to drag her down. All in all, the Dragon's Daughter, who is honestly one of my favorite characters in this game, is going to end up in the below average pool.
Now I'll show you the power of the weapon that will lead us in the 21st century.
I'd like to give a special thank you to my top patrons Minute Rice, Henry Gutierrez, and Ignis Isel, as well as everybody else who's currently supporting me on Patreon. Thank you all very much.